All right. Welcome to this special series of Real Estate Fight Club. And this is called What Would You Do? Where we talk about professional standards and ethics committee violations, cases, ideas. And here with me today is Jim Camarata from Keller Williams in Minnesota. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jen, how you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good. So what's the case you have for us today, or what are we talking about today?
Hey, this is another interesting one. I always try to get good ones for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Um, Client listed a property with an agent. It's a vacant lot. Now, the client believed that based on what he had heard, lots were selling for, that he should get about $150,000 for this vacant lot.
Okay.
The agent said, no, it's the slope and the location and some other factors that no, I don't believe 150 is the right price. I suggest 97.5.
Whoa. Okay.
So 2 weeks later, after listing it, the agent presents an offer full price for 97.5 to the seller.
Okay.
Seller kind of balks at it and says, wow, if you got an offer that fast, full price, maybe it is worth more. And the agent talked them out of it and said, nope, sluggish market, yada, yada, yada. The client reluctantly
I mean,
signed.
that is like kind of a fallacy, right? Because if it,
Which,
I don't
what's a
know, I
fallacy?
guess we could talk, that feels like a real estate fight club podcast. Like if you get an
Oh, yeah.
offer in the first, like how long did it take? Did you say
Two
in this?
weeks. 2 weeks.
If you get an offer in 2 weeks, one offer in 2 weeks for full price, does that mean it's worth more? It should have been worth
Mhm.
more.
Well,
Anyway,
the seller thought so. And the
yeah.
agent said, nope, um, go with it. And so they accepted it and closed on it. So
Okay.
is this where you want to stop and do your commercial, or do you want me to
I
keep
don't
going?
know. What is the,
Well, a couple months later, the seller discovered that the person who bought it was no longer the owner of the property, of the lot, that
okay.
he had sold it to somebody else, and not at the 97.5. It turned out that he had sold it for $165,000.
Okay.
So the person that bought it for 97.5 sold it for 165.
Okay, I still don't see a problem.
Okay. Well, he filed a complaint. The seller filed a complaint charging his agent with collusion and betrayal of a client's confidence and interests, and with failing to disclose that he was buying the property on his own behalf.
Oh, that's the
Oh, the first
problem.
buyer turned out to be the listing agent's brother-in-law.
Got it.
So he was really buying it for himself. So it was kind of a shell buyer,
Right.
and sold
Yeah,
it for
I feel like
165.
that seems like a violation of something.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a specific code or a code or whatever of the ethics that talks about that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which one?
Specifically. Well, at the hearing, the agent tried to defend himself and say that there are two legitimate prices of a property: the price that a seller is willing to take in order to liquidate his investment, and the price that a buyer is willing to pay to acquire a property in which he's particularly interested. And he saw no harm in doing what he did for his own
It
personal
sounds like
advantage.
there's a lack of disclosure here.
Bingo.
What is do you have the code that talks about, I mean, we probably don't need it, but
I've got the
that,
two articles. He was
okay,
charged with violating two articles. You ready?
okay,
Article 1, he did not put his client's interests first and foremost.
okay,
And Article 4 says that a realtor shall not acquire an interest in or buy or present offers from themselves, any member of their immediate families, their firms, yada, 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 without making their true position known to the owner or the owner's agent or broker.
yeah, and see, like, that actually makes sense, like, duh.
Yeah, well, I inform my colleagues if you're buying it for yourself, if you're selling it for yourself, if it's a family member, make sure that it is in the purchase agreement that you are in some way related to that particular client.
Yeah, that you're like
That's
somehow
full
like a
disclosure.
right. I think too, like we actually did a real estate fight club like podcast on this on should you even represent yourself. So I'm like a pretty hard no on that because it can get convoluted, right? Like if you're representing a client, but then you all of a sudden have interest in the house or in the whatever, the property, it's
Mhm.
like, what now? You know?
Yeah, one of my brokers early in my career said the worst person that you can negotiate on behalf of is yourself.
100% agree.
Now, the lady that cut my hair this morning does not cut her own hair. She goes
Right.
to another stylist.
Yeah, your hair looks very
You know?
good. If people are not on YouTube, they should see your new style, your new do
Yeah.
on
Oh.
YouTube.
No, but seriously, a doctor isn't going to operate on himself or herself. You know, a
Right.
dentist goes to another dentist.
Yeah.
So why should you think
You
that
would
you
not believe the number of realtors that disagree with us on this, Jim.
I know, I know. I hear it in my office.
And you know what? Everybody who's listening, you're wrong. You should not represent yourself.
Well, you can, and you might get away with it, but I would also really highly recommend having a very, very good real estate attorney.
Right, exactly. It just doesn't make sense.
Make sure your E&O insurance is fully paid for.
Right, right, right. Well, let me tell you about two of our partners that we're working with. The first one is Vulcan 7, which, as you know, is one of my favorites. It's where I get all my phone numbers from, to circle prospect, to for expired listings, for sale by owners, for rent by owners, probate, all these crazy stuff. So they have an offering for our listeners that's 2 weeks for $49. You would go to vulcan7.com/Jennifer Mertland to sign up for that. And then one of our other favorite sponsors is Reels. I can't decide. I love them all, you know. That's why we chose them. It's like we only want to work with people that we like. But
Yeah, and people
let's
who are going to do the right job for you because it's a reflection on you.
exactly. And people that we use and are already in business with. But let's talk about Real Support Solutions. So they are administrative and training company owned by a real estate agent, Lisa Colas. And what they're offering to our listeners are, if you go to realsupportsolutions.com and enter code Fight Club, you'll receive $100 off the first transaction if you use them for transaction coordination, or you can get 3 free hours of training from them, which is really nice if you have a team and you want to do some outside training or something like that, or whatever, you know. Cool. All right, back to the case. So just to recap, the agent bought the property. I wonder too, like, what was it really worth? Because I think that sometimes it does happen where the sellers think their property is worth more, right? And you're like, it's really not. But like, at what point did this agent know that he was interested in buying the property? And that would have been the point, depending on where it was in the transaction, where he would have recommended an alternative representation for the seller and disclosed why, right?
Yeah, he did not disclose that he was really doing this and using his brother-in-law, who was a family member, to purchase it. And if other comparables, if other relevant lots in the neighborhood or area or similar size were selling in the 150s plus
Right.
or minus, from a 150 to a 97.5, that's a pretty big gap, you
It
know?
is. I
And is
think
it that
too, like it.
inferior?
Yeah, and sometimes though, sometimes that can happen where a house is worth something and then a few, less than a year later, it's worth a totally different number, right? Like we just experienced going through that. But there does seem, I don't know at what point like this became fishy.
Well, according to the case study, the seller found out about it 2 weeks after he had closed. So
Okay.
or 2 months. So it happened pretty quickly.
Pretty
So it
quick,
wasn't a
yeah.
year or two to give it time to appreciate. This was clearly a flip. And
Yeah.
for 165, that's a pretty significant
It seemed like he used his relationship and perceived expertise as a way to get a better deal, is
Mhm.
how it seems, you know.
Yeah, and then you come back to Article 1, and did he put his client's best interests first
Well,
and foremost?
I mean, he was obviously representing himself too, right?
Mhm. Oh, yeah, he bought it for himself.
So, yeah, I mean,
Meh.
eh. Yeah, that's a little tough.
Yeah,
Well, that was a pretty good one. I like it. I think, the point is disclose,
and just goes some more. Yeah.
and then some more. Yeah, exactly.
Well, as a broker, my job is to keep everybody out of realtor jail.
Yeah,
So,
luckily there is no realtor jail, Jim. So stupid. How many, this is, anyway, I'll get off my
it's a joke
soapbox.
in our office now. It's
Yeah.
it's a joke because they say,
It's a
Jim, I
joke
don't
in
want to
the
go into.
industry, but people like think that they're going to get in trouble. And that's part of the problem is nobody ever really gets in trouble.
Oh, yes, they do.
I mean, but they don't lose their license.
Oh, yes, they do.
Okay, well, let's talk about one of
They do.
those.
They do.
Like
They do.
ways you can
Yeah.
lose your license for real.
Oh, yeah. Somebody last year in our association was fined $15,000 and the license was suspended for a year.
Okay, but they still didn't lose it.
Not yet.
Right.
One more violation and they
Yeah,
will.
maybe next time on What Would You Do?
Yeah.
How you can actually lose your license forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, there was fraud involved and
Yeah,
yeah,
no fraud.
there are a lot of other issues and yeah,
Oh,
we
I'm
can
sure,
talk
because
about
they
that.
don't want to fine you like that much, but
Mhm.
that's crazy. Well, Jim, if people have questions for you about this case or they have a referral for you in Minnesota, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
Okay, my cell phone is 612-562-7461. You can text me on that or call me. I do
Okay,
answer it.
nice.
Or email jimcamarata@kw.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jim, so much. I
Pleasure.
appreciate you being on.
It's fun. Thank you.
See ya.